On this week's episode of The Flop Factor, the guys will go over the betting scandal, NBA history with Victor Wembanyama and VJ Edgecombe, and players who have impressed the guys that do this podcast so far in the first week of the NBA season. You will not want to miss this episode of The Flop Factor. The Flop Factor starts now. Well, I bet you're tuning in to this episode trying to learn about the betting scandal. I hate myself sometimes. That was a bad pun. But hey, I'm Cody Burton. This is The Flop Factor. Alongside me, RJ Rice, DJ McDermott, Braden Laszlo, as usual. And Shams Charania of ESPN mentioned, or actually posted, the NBA's memo to teams on Monday about the Terry Rozier betting scandal that had been going on, that happened in the March 2023 game, and it was detected in real time because the bets were placed legally and all of that. But given the spread of legal betting to the majority of the U.S. states, the recurrence of integrity issues across sports, and the emergence of novel betting formats and markets, this is an opportune time to carefully reassess how sports betting should be regulated and how sports leagues can best protect themselves, their players, and their fans. While the unusual betting on Terry Rozier's unders in the March 2023 game were detected in real time because the bets were placed legally, we believe that there is more that can be done on the legal/regulatory perspective to protect the integrity of the NBA and our affiliated leagues. In particular, proposition bets on the individual player performance involve heightened integrity concerns and require additional scrutiny. We have also begun the process of reviewing league policies regarding injury reporting, the training and education of all NBA personnel, and safety measures for NBA players. With sports betting now occupying such a significant part of the current sports landscape, every effort must be made to ensure that players, coaches, and other NBA personnel are fully aware of the dire risks that gambling can impose upon their careers and livelihoods, that our injury disclosure rules are appropriate, and that players are protected from harassment from bettors. We are also exploring ways to enhance our existing internal and external integrity monitoring programs to better utilize artificial intelligence and other tools to synthesize all available data from betting operators, social media, and other sources to identify betting activity of concern. I'm so glad that Adam Silver is more focused on AI than, the fact that the FBI released 3 people involved with his league. But they still haven't said anything about Chauncey. This is all about Terry and the Cavs guy, Damon Jones, the Cavs former assistant. But I see the top comments is from a account that says investigate Willie Green. It's a Pels fan. That's good to see. But takeaways from this, this happened literally the day after we recorded last week, so we didn't really get any instant reactions. But whenever you all saw the notification hit, Terry Rozier arrested, and then an hour later Chauncey Billups arrested, and then you saw, I believe it was the New York Times or Washington Post, one of the two, that reported that former Cavaliers assistant Damon Jones was also involved in disclosing LeBron James injury disclosure rules and stuff like that. What was your all's reaction?
Well, when I first found out, it was that Tuesday morning. I was getting ready for class, and then, shout out my roommate John Doucette. He's the one who told me. That's how I found out. And first I thought he was joking, and then I went to Twitter, looked, and he was not kidding. Obviously, all was laid out, and then there was supposed to be that press conference that started at 10, and that basically I tried to get live updates, basically saying, we're aware, blah, blah, 33-something people involved. And I think really this is not shocking, and this was only going to happen in a matter of time. I mean, the weird, I guess, thing about this is it was a mix of poker as well. I mean, that
was the Chauncey Billups
situation.
That
was kind of interesting, and then it being in a different situation, because I believe it was a couple months ago, they came out and said, oh, yeah, Terry did nothing wrong, we didn't find blah, 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 or whatever, that he was still being actively investigated, whatever. And then this all comes out. It's a conflict of interest. Somebody here is wrong. Which one is it? And for the NBA's point, especially since Cody just read that memo, what this basically says is, we don't want to admit that we're wrong. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah, I think it was really shocking because I remember I also woke up and I saw that, and I remember I saw you guys text in our Slack group chat that it was just kind of crazy, really random, especially because it was right after opening night. It was right after Trailblazers started off their season, and I do want to bring up comments that he said post game. He said, "I do the best I can and let the chips fall where they may." Chauncey Billups did, and so it aged terribly because the next morning is when he got arrested. So I don't know if he meant for that to happen. But, I mean, this is the first time we've seen anything since Jonte Porter got basically flagged by the league for betting scandals. So this really came out of nowhere. And to have it for Chauncey Billups, who was the head coach of a rising Trailblazers team that we were all hyping up, and then Terry Rozier, who has been a staple role player in this league for years now. It's just two popular names in the NBA that you just really weren't expecting to see in headlines starting that morning.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting what Eric Spoelstra said about Terry Rozier specifically. He said, Terry is somebody who's very dear to all of us. He's had a real positive impact on our locker room, on staff and players alike. That includes last year when he wasn't in the rotation oftentimes. So you send our thoughts and care for him as he goes through it. I mean, Eric Spoelstra obviously had no idea this was going on, allegedly. I'm not accusing him of anything. It's just interesting to see how Terry Rozier, like, all these guys knew what was at stake here. They knew if they got caught, all their job, their livelihood would change forever. There'd be a very, very big stain on the resume right there. But it's so weird to me with betting in sports how deep these ties run. Like, there's so many instances, and I'm not going to say there's more, but, like, I'd be shocked if there wasn't more to come out about this story.
Yeah, Antonio Gates for the NFL was actually just reported, too, a couple days ago for being possibly running one of those poker games. So I don't know if you guys saw that. But
his attorney put out a statement, too, basically saying that all these are false accusations, but then after it says we have no more comment, and I'm like,
yeah, that's not good.
That's not good.
It's not good for anybody.
Yeah, and going a little bit further, back in the summer, Gilbert Arenas was also arrested for running an underground gambling poker scene, but he was released. He actually was able to get out of all of that, and it was kind of funny because on his show he walked in like all happy and stuff whenever like they had music playing and stuff whenever Chauncey and Rozier were arrested, and then he set the record straight today, according to TMZ. He said that he did not snitch on Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier before their arrest, so then their situation is on a whole different level. But he also trolled them after they were busted by the FBI. Going down, he also said a lot of people in his Twitch chat were like saying, like, addressed the rumors that he's snitching. He said, "Come on, man, why y'all putting something like this on me?" And this is a whole different level. But he also said that he would snitch, but on his case, this wasn't his case.
What? What? Oh, okay. All right. You know what? That's a whole nother rant. But I mean, let's just say Gilbert Arenas had his troubles in the league when he was in. But I mean, would he snitch? Maybe. I mean, if you were to lessen your sentence, I think a lot of people would do it. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, he did snitch on the people that actually did get caught in his thing, and like he was able to get out of that. It was like there was like a whole I don't know. I'm not gonna get into the like specific like this the specifics of it on this podcast. There was a whole mob. Is all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm about to say. Yeah. If you want to go more in depth, we are not the podcast for that.
You're probably going to find more depth out about it, like in the next week or so. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, this is the main story in the NBA right now.
It's the main story in all across sports.
Yeah,
There's gonna be more to come out. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Some shocking names.
Yeah, not only that, but you might see some betting rules changes really soon because the leagues are going to push for it. Not just the NBA, but it's going to be all of them.
This is kind of like off topic, but like when ESPN was covering it and they have like the little ESPN bet logo, they tried to get rid of that real quick.
They just removed the entire bottom line.
Yeah.
But moving on. I under like first 10 minutes is the first week of the season, and we're talking about federal investigations. What's going on in the NBA this season? But it's like more things are going on. NBA history is going on. Victor Wembanyama. DJ McDermott makes history. He became the first player in NBA history to record 100 points and 15 blocks in the first 3 games of the regular season. And the Spurs beat the Brooklyn Nets in San Antonio, Texas, 26. They recovered from blowing a 26-point lead. They maintained an unbeaten start with a 118-107. Them and the Oklahoma City Thunder are tied at the top of the Western Conference, both at 3-0 records, and gonna have a great race. Victor Wembanyama looks great. I saw the clip whenever I woke up this morning. I wasn't watching the game last night. But I woke up this morning and saw the clip of him block 2 shots, go around and pull up from half court and drill it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this might be the best player that's ever touched the grace of the NBA court. I don't know. But yeah, Victor Wembanyama.
Unicorn, man. And shout out DJ. I kept him on my fantasy team. DJ tried really hard to pursue me in
oh my
trades,
God,
like
it was-
Giannis and more. And
He
I'm
hasn't
like,
tried to go for
begging.
Dylan Harper yet.
No, there's a reason. Hey, I'm just saying. There's a reason why I kept him. Victor Wembanyama is amazing. I mean, he's averaging 33, 13, and 2. I mean, field goal percentage so far, 56%, but I feel like that's only going to go up. But I think especially for Victor Wembanyama in the Spurs case, look, you're 3-0. You're playing great basketball so far. I know everybody was really hyped to see that Dallas matchup, and my goodness, that was just a blowout, we'll say that. But I think for San Antonio, especially for Victor too, I mean, when he's healthy, you know he's going to put on these type of performances on a really regular basis. And the fact that he's just making more history, I mean, just look out.
Yeah, this is the best week I've had as a Spurs fan in a while. It's definitely been a year or two since Wembanyama got drafted, honestly. Starting off with season 3-0, obviously I was watching the Nets game yesterday. That was a little scary when they got tied back up at 92, but Spurs ended up pulling away with that victory. And as of about 30 minutes ago, Victor Wembanyama got Western Conference Player of the Week. And that stat that Cody mentioned about making NBA history with 100 points and 15 blocks in the first 3 games, I was going to mention that, but I've just an insane stat. And one of the big things I want to mention, I remember seeing a report that Victor Wembanyama was going to have problems with his turnovers because he averaged 4.6 turnovers per game in the preseason. He's averaging 0.7 through 3 games. So obviously he has figured that out. And I think one of the craziest stats as well is that game against Dallas, which, like we said, was a blowout in every statistical category. Victor Wembanyama only played 30 minutes and had 40 and 15. I mean, that's just it's just crazy. There's so much I could say about the Spurs team, but obviously Victor Wembanyama is looking phenomenal to start the season, and it's looked like all that hype, all that third-year hype coming into the season, it's kind of, I mean, it's only 3 games, but it's starting to kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, this man is on one right now. It's so much fun to see. I'm happy for you, DJ. I hope he stays healthy. I really do. He's leading the team in 4 out of the 5 major categories. 6 blocks a game, man. That is unreal. Like, that is actually crazy.
Almost had a triple-double against New Orleans with 9 blocks.
Yeah. I mean, if the season were to end today, give him Depoy, give him MVP. I mean, this dude is legit. I want to see him on the court for the majority of the year. I pray for his health, and I hope the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs team is very, very interesting to me because they really do have a lot of playmakers. And Devin Vassell so far, electric, very efficient, getting his shots, dishing the ball out. And shout out Stephon Castle, making plays for this team, getting Victor the ball. And this team could be scary come May.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is that they're still missing De'Aaron Fox and Jeremy Sohan, too. Once they come back to the lineup, you're just going to have 2 more playmakers to add into that rotation. It's probably going to be a 10, 11-man rotation right now.
And you just think this Dylan Harper and Stephen Castle have their lives very simple. All they have to do is just lob it up. Wemby's going to catch it. Free assist for either one of them. I mean, Dylan Harper had 8 assists last night against Brooklyn. Castle led the team with 6 in both of the previous 2 games. And now coming up for the Spurs tonight on a back-to-back, they have Toronto in San Antonio. Tickets are as low as $19 if you're a San Antonio resident and are just so happen to be listening to this podcast to where you're walking distance away from the Spurs Stadium at this point. This is probably going to be out like about 30 minutes before the game tips off, but hey, you never know. Then Thursday against Miami, that's going to be one of the games we pick later today. That's our League Pass game of the week. Sunday against Phoenix, and they're back on national TV for back-to-back games against the Los Angeles Lakers on Wednesday, November 5th, and then Friday, November 7th on Prime Video against Houston. Is that an NBA Cup game?
What was? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great matchup in the Emirates NBA Cup. Everyone here, at least myself,
Oh yeah, definitely.
loves the Emirates NBA Cup. We are cup respecters here at Flop Factor, but that's going to be a fun one. I'm very excited. Blake Griffin loves the Emirates NBA Cup. Chet Holmgren is kind of a. If you watch that clip of during the offseason of trying to advertise NBA Prime, there was a nice, funny interaction between Blake Griffin and Chet Holmgren about the incredible Emirates NBA Cup. But we'll get into that next week when we first preview the Emirates NBA Cup. Now, moving on to more history. In his NBA debut, 76ers rookie VJ Edgecombe delivered an historic NBA debut. He had the most points scored ever by a 76er in an NBA debut, surpassing the great Allen Iverson, who had scored 30. Edgecombe scored 34, the rookie out of Baylor. His 34 points were the third most by any rookie ever in an NBA debut, and the most since 1960. Since Wilt Chamberlain scored 43 in 1959, and Frank Selvey scored 35 in 1954. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Especially, I mean, it was in the Garden against Boston too. I think it also gives a little bit of nice little historic value as well as that. I mean, it's the Boston Celtics, one of the most, I would say, historic franchises in the NBA.
One of the most historic rivalries too.
That
76ers Celtics.
I mean, adding on to that and everything. I mean, obviously, we're in the Charlotte game because they've only played 2 games, Boston and Charlotte. That was at a home game. You know, it's slowing down a little bit, but I mean, look. He's a rookie. I mean, it was his first game. I mean, it's insane. You can't really expect that production just yet. But I think especially for VJ and the Sixers fans in general, you're seeing another guard kind of flourish again, kind of like how they did with Maxey. I think it's a great thing to watch, and I think now the only thing that Philadelphia needs to prioritize is health.
Yeah, definitely. I think VJ Edgecombe obviously had a phenomenal debut, and everybody's talking about his points, how he scored 34 points. But, I mean, through 2 games, he's averaging 24.5, obviously 34 in that debut. And then he also has 6.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists through those 2 games. So it's not really just his scoring. It's his playmaking, too. And I really think that is one factor that the 76ers need to have. Kind of like a factor that they didn't have last year, especially with all the injuries that they suffered last year. Jared McCain is still out. But one guard that RJ briefly mentioned that is also having a phenomenal start to the season is Tyrese Maxey. Obviously, you had both of those guys in the opener against Celtics combined for 74 points. Tyrese Maxey had 40 points. VJ Edgecombe had 34. And right now, Tyrese Maxey is averaging 34 points and 7.5 assists with a block per game, which kind of is shocking. I mean, they've only played 2 games, but Tyrese Maxey looks like he's taking up the helm for this team. VJ Edgecombe is looking phenomenal as that second option, as Joel Embiid is kind of trying to adjust on a minutes restriction here. But if VJ Edgecombe can keep up this this pace that he has been, he is going to be a top candidate for Rookie of the Year.
I mean, this is kind of like our "we told you so" moment, I feel, because like we were hyping this kid up a lot, like before the season started, and you saw the way he played at Baylor. It looked like he was held back in a way because his offensive game just translates so well to the NBA, and we've seen that through the first couple games for the 76ers and VJ Edgecombe, and he's a really good sidekick to Tyrese Maxey. I know you both talked about him, but Tyrese Maxey is entering the prime of his career, and you got VJ Edgecombe just trying to learn the ropes in the NBA. And he seems to be a quick learner because first game in the TD Garden against Boston, it's a very tough place to play regardless who's on the court, and he showed out.
Yeah, definitely. And also Tyrese Maxey himself, he scored 40 points, and that tied the late, great Hall of Famer Hal Greer, Marshall University legend, Huntington, West Virginia legend Hal Greer. There's always a West Virginia connection somewhere. There's a street. One of the main streets in Huntington, West Virginia, which is about 30 minutes from where I grew up, Hal Greer Boulevard. It goes right through the campus of Marshall University, one of WVU's rivals in a couple of sports, and the only other Division I school in the state of West Virginia. But Hal Greer scored 40 points in the season opener himself. Maxey tied him. That's a great company to be in. That's even more than Embiid scored. That's more than Iverson scored. Tyrese Maxey had a phenomenal opening game. But moving on, speaking of, RJ was talking about health, staying healthy with these teams. There's been a lot of injuries to start the season in the NBA. I mean, just last night, it was Anthony Edwards went down with a hamstring injury, and now today he will, against the Indiana Pacers of all teams who have gone through injuries of their own, but he will miss at least 2 weeks with a hamstring strain. That's rough for the Timberwolves. At least it's only 2 weeks. Luka Doncic is going to be out for at least a week as well with a foot strain, and a finger sprain, not a foot.
I think it's both.
He's been dealing with a lot. It's
Yeah.
Luka. He's always going to deal with injuries. But really rough for Ant, really rough for Luka. But there's no other team that's been hit harder than the team that could have used the season where they stayed pretty healthy outside of the giant gaping hole that Tyrese Halliburton's leaving with his Achilles tear. But the Indiana Pacers have continued to be decimated by injuries throughout preseason, throughout the first couple games of the regular season. I mean, just by reading this injury report, they currently have Tyrese Halliburton out for the season with his right Achilles tear. TJ McConnell is missing at least 1 month of action with a hamstring injury. Cam Jones has a pretty bad back injury, and he's going to be out for at least a month. Obi Toppin suffered a hamstring injury during yesterday's game, a loss to the Timberwolves. That's another one. Obi Toppin was their only capable center so far this season, since they have Isaiah Jackson coming off an Achilles tear as their starting center currently. Johnny Furphy has continued to be out. He injured his foot in a preseason game against the Oklahoma City Thunder and hasn't played yet this season. Benedict Mathurin had an incredible opening night and continued what he was doing in the next game, and then at halftime he had 24 points and went down with another injury. That's a foot injury. He was out for Sunday's game against the Timberwolves, but he's currently listed at day-to-day. Andrew Nembhard on opening night, who was a potential most improved player candidate, their starting point guard, went down with a shoulder injury on opening night. He got caught in a spin move by Shea, and just his shoulder got pulled a little bit. And lastly, at the end of this long list, Talon Peter has a groin injury in the second game of the season. He was out in Sunday's game against the Timberwolves. That's a mouthful. I need to breathe. And the Indiana Pacers are continuing to stay hurt. And it's just so brutal for that fan base. They were 1 game away from winning the NBA championship. Their star player first goes down with an injury. Then they lose that Game 7. And then their star franchise center leaves them in the offseason to their rival team in Milwaukee. Now it's pretty much Pascal Siakam and friends with Aaron Nesmith helping them, because he's the only other key contributor that's not injured currently for them. And they're just trying to hang on 0-3 right now. Hopefully they get healthy at some point so an Indiana fan can just have a smile on their face when watching their beloved Pacers this season.
Yeah, I don't think a team arguably had a worse offseason than the Indiana Pacers. I mean, obviously, Game 7, Tyrese goes down. He's out for a long, long extended period of time. And then these injuries just start adding up for Indiana. I mean, no wins on the season yet, unfortunately. They are 0-3. And I mean, with the lot of injuries, you can't necessarily say it's because of play from their good players, because they aren't out on the court. And I think especially coming up, I'm just looking at some of the teams they play. I mean, you got Dallas, you got Atlanta, Golden State, Milwaukee. Brooklyn's been playing teams pretty close as well, which has been pretty impressive from their side, along with Denver and then Golden State again. That is a rough stretch for Indiana. I mean, you got to expect, hopefully these day-to-day guys can get back on the active and playing again, like Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin. Just those are the main two, especially from that starting lineup. I think to give Pascal Siakam and Aaron Nesmith some help, but I think especially just looking at the point guards, my goodness, they are just getting ravaged with injuries. It's just really right now Quentin Jackson and Ray J. Dennis so far for Indiana. So I think on that front as well, having your point guard and main facilitators be that injured, good luck for Indiana, because it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, coming into this, I remember we planned on talking about injuries. Obviously, the Pacers It's terrible luck because basically every depth player, I'd say, 8 or 9 out of the 10 players that you would expect to be in your rotation are basically out. Like Cody said, it's basically just Pascal Siakam and Crew right now. Whoever wants to kind of help him out, that's healthy. But two of the other injuries that we mentioned, obviously Anthony Edwards, after the game last night, he departed with tightness in his hamstring, and the head coach provided no update. So it kind of seemed like it was going to be not that good of news, but I honestly thought it was going to be more like a month timeline. But they came out today, obviously, 2 weeks that he's going to be out for at least 8 games, I think Shams said. So, and the other injury is Luka being out for 1 week. But I think that was to a benefit for a player that I'm going to mention later on in this episode, but it's just injury bug around the NBA. I mean, we obviously knew it was going to happen, but the fact that we're only 2-3 games in, it sucks to see some of these players that we want to watch the NBA for be out for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, injuries are the worst part of any sport, especially basketball. As you mentioned, there are a lot of names on this Pacers team that we would all love to see out there on the court and perform to the best of their abilities, fully healthy. But I think at the end of the day, I don't think the Pacers are looking to contend again this year. I think that the expectations have been taken down a little bit due to injuries, due to the offseason and what they lost. They didn't really gain anything to put them back to where they were. This only gives these guys that are healthy a chance to prove themselves, a chance to carve out a spot in this rotation, regardless of who's healthy or who's not. It's going to be a benefit to the Pacers, I think, especially this year when expectations are low. You're just trying to see what you have on your roster, something to build off going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And just with those hamstring injuries, especially with Ant, it's just those linger. You have to be careful with those. The 2-week time frame is good news, but hopefully they don't end up rushing them back, because 2 weeks for a hamstring injury can sometimes be a little bit of a risk to take. Now, moving on, let's get some positive news after that complete negative injury segment. Who's a player that has impressed you so far the opening week of the season? There's been a couple of young guys trying to break out, a couple of veterans who maybe some people wrote them out off and they haven't wrote back yet, and they're back up and playing good as ever. Who are these players for you guys?
For me, I'm going to go with another member of my fantasy team, and I had a backup in case I wasn't the first one to talk. My backup was Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets. He's been playing incredible so far in this limited action that we do have. But I will go with Austin Reeves, averaging 34 points a game. I mean, he just went absolutely ballistic. That was against Sacramento last night, dropping 51. But he scored 25-plus in all 3 of these games. Against quality competition with Golden State, I know that was a loss. He scored 26 in that. One against Minnesota and dropped 25. And then the aforementioned 51 points against Sacramento. I mean, I think for him especially, I believe this is a contract year, and he kind of rejected the little 1-year offer, I believe it was. So for him especially, right now, if you're Austin Reeves playing great basketball, I mean, you're averaging 34, almost 8 and 10. I think really if you're looking for that big payday contract from a team, this is a great start.
Yeah, so Austin Reeves was my player too, and I totally agree. Every point that you said, RJ, was what I was going to mention. But I also did have a backup, and I'm going to go with somebody that on a team that I wasn't high on going into the season. I'm going to go with Norman Powell on the Miami Heat. He has been the main scoring staple for this Miami Heat team coming into the season. I was not very high on them. Still, I'm a little iffy on them, but they were 0-6 in the preseason. They have started out pretty good. They are currently 2-1, and Norman Powell is currently leading the team in points scored, and he is just, it feels like he is the main guy on offense. Feels like he's right next to Bam Adebayo, but he's averaging 24 points per game, 3 assists per game, and 7 rebounds per game, shooting 50% from the three-point line, which is, I mean, that's what you're going to need to do for a team like the Miami Heat, who has a lot of unproven talent on that team. I think you have people like Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, who could help that crew out. But the fact that a veteran like Norman Powell, who they traded for this offseason, being a big factor to why the Miami Heat are 2-1 to start the season.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the 6'7" guard from Charlotte, LaMelo Ball, who's actually on pace to average career highs in every single stat so far. 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. His playmaking ability has definitely shown like to taking a leap this year. 13 assists against the Wizards. Obviously, we know it's Washington, not crazy. But even against tougher opponents like Philadelphia, he still had 27, 8, and 3 steals and 10 rebounds. Like, he's putting up pretty solid numbers to start the year. I'm very high on LaMelo Ball. The Hornets are sitting at second in the Eastern Conference right now, so that's pretty good for – or I think it's second or third.
It's second.
Yeah.
Second. It's second.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know how sustainable that is, especially with teams like the Knicks, the Cavs. Obviously, we got a lot more games to play. But I'm really, really impressed with LaMelo Ball so far.
Well, I don't think it surprises anyone who I'm going with for my selection, A.J. Mitchell. The second-year guard out of the University of California at Santa Barbara. 6'4", 190 pounds. The second-round pick, the 38th overall. Originally was the Knicks pick. The Thunder traded for him. And now he's just been a revolution for the Thunder this season. He is, in the absence of Jalen Williams, has taken over duties as the third leading scorer on this, the third scoring option, sometimes even the second scoring option for the Thunder this season. It's been Shea, Holmgren, and then it's been A.J. Mitchell so far in the year. He's averaging 18.7 points, 4 rebounds, 4.3 assists, shooting 46.7% from the field, 41.7% from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. Has not missed from the stripe so far. Everything A.J. has done this season is what my view of the perfect A.J. Mitchell could ever have been. I was ridiculously high on him whenever the Thunder drafted him, and he's continued to prove himself as one of my biggest draft hits alongside Aaron Wiggins. And it's just, he's been phenomenal. He's been a great passer, he's been a great scorer, and he's really putting his name in the mix for a potential 6-man of the year odd, because even whenever guys like Nikola Topic comes back, guys like Isaiah Joe comes back, now obviously Jalen Williams is going to come back, and that's the second best player on your team. That's an all-NBA player. He'll push him back in the rotation. But anyone else, like outside of Jalen Williams and Alex Caruso, whenever they come back, A.J. Mitchell's not losing a spot. Do you think Nikola Topic is taking him out on that spot? Do you think Isaiah Joe even, after what A.J. Mitchell's shown so far? This has just been a phenomenal backup point guard. He's been exactly what the Thunder were somehow missing last season despite an injury. Despite winning the championship. And really, before his injury last season, whenever he broke had a very severe ankle sprain last season, he was kind of blossoming into what we're seeing right now. He's been a much better scorer than he was last season, but the playmaking ability, the defense has been phenomenal for him. Now, switching it around here, who's one player that has, I guess, disappointed you so far this season? It's obviously early in the season. I don't think, like even on the other side, I don't think Austin Reeves is going to be averaging a near 34-point triple-double this season. I don't think A.J. Mitchell is going to end the year averaging 18.7, but who's a player that's just kind of disappointed you a little bit so far?
I mean, before I go into that, I was looking at Norman Powell's picture for the Miami Heat and what they took. He needs some happiness in his life. I don't know why. He just looks so stone-faced.
That's back home whenever he's on the Clippers.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, nah, if I was on the Clippers too, I'd have that same face right now. But I'm going to go with my actual own home team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And why I say this especially, I'm going in on one guy, and I know it's only a week, so this is based off what we've seen so far. But for me, it's Lonzo Ball. And especially in that New York Knicks game opening, or for the Cavs opening night, just the way every time he got the ball, it's either he missed a pass or he shot up a three that shouldn't have been shot. I don't know why. And even in Brooklyn, he actually did worse. Only had 2 points instead of 3. But also that New York Knicks game had 4 turnovers and then 2 against the Nets. I don't know if it's about teams in New York or playing in New York for him or not. Milwaukee put up 11 points though, so he did do better on 50% from the 3-point line. But I mean, obviously with Darius Garland out right now and the point guard position needing a lot more role. He hopefully can do a little bit better, but I know he is out currently, so. But actually, it's technically quote-unquote injury management, so it shouldn't be anything long-term, but just something to mention. But just wanting to see more production of him considering the trade that they made with Chicago in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a player that we actually talked about and kind of hyped up last week, a team that we're all very high on. And I'm pretty sure it was a 4-year, $100 million deal that he signed last week. Former most improved player Dyson Daniels. His stats this year are looking nothing like last year. He's averaging 6 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game on 27 minutes per game. One of the biggest things for me is 3.7 fouls per game, and in his career, he's never averaged over 2.3. He's has very similar field goals percentage, but the main thing for me is that he has very similar stats to his last year on the Pelicans in the 23-24 season. In that season, he only played 22 minutes per game, but in every big statistical category, Dyson, when he was on that New Orleans Pelicans team, he averaged 6 points, he averaged 3.9 rebounds, and he averaged 3 assists per game. It is very similar. I'm not sure if it's because the Hawks had a phenomenal offseason and added a bunch of new weapons for this team, but Dyson Daniels has not looked up to par, especially after getting all that hype last year around how many steals he had. He's only averaging 1.7 steals per game, not up to what he was doing last year, but he just has not looked like himself, especially after the phenomenal year he had on the Hawks last year.
Yeah, I might get some slack from RJ, but I'm also going to pick a Cleveland Cavalier. Jared Allen. I think that these first couple games, obviously 22 points in Brooklyn, 7 boards, 4 assists. That's a pretty solid game. But I'm going off of the opening night loss to the Knicks. He looked abysmal. Like, it was really, really bad. Shot 1 of 4. This team is at their best, in my opinion, when Jared Allen's getting at least 10 shots up a game. And I'm talking close shots. I'm not talking jumpers. But, this team is very, very good when Jared Allen is producing at a higher level than what we saw opening night, and even against the Bucks. We had only a 5-point victory at home against Milwaukee. Obviously, they are a very, very tough squad this year with Miles Turner and Giannis returning to MVP form so far. But that opening night loss to the Knicks looked really, really bad for Jared Allen.
Well, before you go, Cody, I will say super quick on the Cavs front, especially from them as well. Having Jared Allen, he needs more production. The Cavs are great when both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are on the floor producing to their normal, almost you could say all-star levels. But I think especially for Cleveland as well as a team, you had double-digit leads and you almost blew them both to both of the following teams of Brooklyn and Milwaukee. You're going to need a lot of center play, and I think for Jared Allen, he has to step it up because for some of those games, you could see a case where this Cavs team could be 0-3.
Yeah, I'm going with the same guy I picked to win the Most Improved Player award because so far this season with Portland, the efficiency has not been there so far for Shaedon Sharpe. Yes, he's averaging 17 points a game. He's averaging 3.7 rebounds, 2.0 assists, but those splits, 28.8% from the field and 20.8% from 3. That is not very good, especially when you add in the fact that he's averaging 4 turnovers a game compared to 2 assists. It's not looked hot so far for Shaedon Sharpe. He's actually been someone who's gotten worse in terms of efficiency throughout his career. He's progressively had worse efficiencies each season of his career from rookie to now, and it's continuing so far. I was banking on that efficiency to shoot up. So far, it's been the exact opposite. It's shot down to a point of no return of 28.8%. That is not winning basketball whatsoever. You have to try to pick that up, and that's that's why. That's one of the many reasons why the Portland Trailblazers are 1-2 right now, obviously. I fully believe in Thiago Splitter's quest to be a head coach for this team, and I guess he'll have to do it for the foreseeable future and probably the rest of the season. But moving on, we're going to go a quick pick'ems round. It's going to be a national pick'ems. You have a couple of great games. How we're going to do this week is pick who you see winning, give a little 1-2 sentence explanation, and just name a player to watch out for in this game. We're starting with Cavs versus Pistons. It's going to be a good one. I believe it's tonight, right?
Yep.
Yes.
We're starting on Monday. Cavs Pistons. It's tonight. Who's going to win?
Funny thing about this game, Peacock's actually introducing a new bench segment where they're going to have reporters sit almost similar near benches and give different analysis that way. So I think it's a really cool way to cover this game, and I think they're doing that moving forward. But, specifically, for this game, I'm going to have to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers in a very, very tough one. And the reason why I say that is because I finally think the combo of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen return to that regular season form, because especially having so many injuries to the point guard position and even having both Garland and now Lonzo Ball out, I think you're going to have to get that production from the bigs, and I think Cleveland can do that properly against Detroit.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say is production from the bigs. I think Jalen Duran is a phenomenal center for the Pistons, but I don't think he's going to be able to handle both Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and that is actually the player that I'm going to highlight is Evan Mobley. I think he's going to go off tonight, and I think the Cavaliers take this game from the Pistons.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Cavs. I think they are pretty big down low. This Pistons team doesn't really have the depth to compete with that, but a player to watch for me is going to be Craig Porter Jr. I think that he could play a really big role in that guard spot for the Cavs. I love me some CPJ. Very, very good player there for the Cavs.
I'm going to save the graphic and go with the Detroit Pistons. I've liked what they've done the past 2 games after losing to the Chicago Bulls to open their season. And I'm a big fan of Ron Holland Jr. Ron Holland III, not Jr. And I feel like he's going to have a big game tonight. And it's going to be a fun one to watch between these two. And then moving on to the other Peacock game tonight of this doubleheader, it's going to be a good one. It's Nuggets versus Wolves. No Anthony Edwards for Minnesota, but still you have Julius Randle, who's looked great, Dante DiVincenzo, who's done a solid job at the 1, and Jaden McDaniels is still on that team. And then obviously you have Aaron Gordon. Let's just see if this guy cools down a little bit here. In this game.
Let's hope he doesn't, because I have him on my fantasy team. But I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets here. Obviously, having no Anthony Edwards is a huge blow to Minnesota, and I think you've been seeing the production from both Aaron Gordon and obviously just Jokic being Jokic. I think Denver gets it done because I would rather trust their core right now compared to Minnesota without Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, the Nuggets are purely healthy. There's nobody on their injury report. I think the Nuggets take away this one pretty handedly, actually. I think a player to watch out for is Jamal Murray. I think he's going to have his first big game of the season. I think the Nuggets and the Timberwolves are 2 of the best teams in the Western Conference, and they're going to be for the rest of the season. But with Anthony Edwards out, I feel like Jamal Murray is going to have an offensive explosion tonight, and I see the Nuggets taking this away from the Timberwolves.
You know what they say, health is wealth, and the Denver Nuggets have a lot of it right now. I'm also going to go with Jamal Murray. I don't think that the point guard position right now for the Timberwolves is very good, should I say. I mean, Rob Dillingham is still day-to-day. I'd love to see him get a little more play for the Timberwolves, but Jamal Murray is going to have a night tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves, actually. I just feel that this is the game where Timberwolves trust the guys around the supporting cast normally. Julius Randle's going to have a big day. I think Rudy Gobert might do a little bit of stuff on the defensive end, but my player to look out for is Terrence Shannon Jr. In the absence of Anthony Edwards, they're going to need a guy to step up, and TSJ is that type of guy that would be perfect in that role. Now tomorrow night, you got another NBC/Peacock. I think they're calling that Coast to Coast Tuesdays is what they're calling it. NBC and Peacock. The game on the East is going to be a matchup on 8 p.m. between the New York Knicks and Milwaukee Bucks. Who do you have there?
If this game was in the Garden, I would go the Knicks. I wouldn't even think twice about it, but I don't know. Something about that Pfizer Forum, especially the way Giannis has been playing right now. I think he's been playing electric basketball, getting near almost that MVP level. But I really think for Milwaukee, especially for Miles Turner, that's my main guy. That's who I'm looking at. And I think if the Bucks want to win, he has to be really productive both on the boards and getting those close shots against this Knicks team that can obviously have their way with the basket and obviously get to the foul line pretty easily. Yeah,
the Knicks are coming off their first loss this season, and Giannis has been playing out of his mind. He's leading the team in points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game, averaging 36, 16, and 7. And he was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week this week, announced just a little while ago. But I think that is going to be the story of this season for the Milwaukee Bucks, that Giannis is going to be really the only player on that team besides maybe Miles Turner on the defensive side of the ball that does anything for the Bucks. So I'm going to take the Knicks in this one. And I think the player to watch out for is the Knicks leading scorer, Jalen Brunson. I think he's going to have a day because the Bucks really don't have their pure guard yet. Obviously, Cole Anthony has been playing pretty good to start the season, but they have been shifting guards throughout their first 3 games of the season. So I think none of the guards are going to be able to guard Jalen Brunson or be able to hold him off enough to get that win.
I'm going to go with Milwaukee here. I think being at home, as you mentioned, RJ, is going to play a huge factor. I think Giannis is the man this year. I think it's going to come down to him and Wemby for MVP, but Giannis, they don't have a guy on that team who can handle Giannis. I just think he's going to have his way down low with the New York Knicks. Give me the Bucks.
I'm going to go with New York here. I have liked what Mike Brown's done so far leading this team. His offense is very spongy at times. I don't like the amount of three-point shots they've been chucking up. But I do believe that this team is still better than the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think they will take care of business here. And if he plays, my player to watch is Miles McBride. He's currently questionable due to personal reasons, but he's been on fire to start the year. He did not score against the Heat. He did not see the floor. He did not play because of this personal reason. But against the Cavs and the Celtics, he scored double digits in both games. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists against Boston, 15 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist in the starting lineup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It should be a big day for McBride. But 11 p.m. That 11 p.m. tip in Eastern Standard Time is the next one. Clippers-Warriors.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun matchup, especially Golden State's. I mean, obviously the Chase Center, obviously a great environment. Obviously, a lot of people do miss Oracle Arena, but I mean Chase Center still has that electricity, and especially for Golden State, I think that's what going to get them through this one. I mean, obviously Steph Curry, just the way he's been playing, and obviously I think especially for Golden State, I mean they've been through a tough battle. I mean, obviously the overtime game against Denver, a lot of people are looking at. They got a really impressive win in Los Angeles, and I mean obviously a very tough loss a couple days ago to the Portland Trail Blazers, but you know what? I do think that the Golden State Warriors have enough to get enough to get it done. I'm going to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, the Clippers looked very, very shaky on their opening night, taking a big loss to the Utah Jazz. But after that, they had a dominant win over the Phoenix Suns and a very disciplined win over the Trailblazers. Their next game is obviously against the Warriors, and the Warriors are kind of on an opposite in terms of their wins and losses. They started out 2-0, obviously that opening night win against the Lakers and an overtime victory against the Nuggets, but then that loss against the Trailblazers. I'm going to take the Clippers here. I feel like that they keep their two-game streak going. I think that they have looked so much better. I think that Utah Jazz game was a fluke game. I started off the season not very high on the Warriors. They have kind of exceeded my expectations a bit. Obviously, Steph Curry has been playing out of his mind, carrying this Warriors team to a 2-1 record. But in terms of the Clippers, I think Kawhi Leonard's going to have a big night. Spurs legend. I've always been high on him. I've always been a fan of him. And he has kind of picked it up in these last 2 games, and I feel like he brings it to the Warriors this time.
I'm going to go with Golden State, and a player to watch out for is Jimmy Butler. If Bradley Beal plays, I love that matchup for Jimmy Butler. I think he's just going to get to his spots, knock down his shots, and it's going to be a nice night for the Golden State Warriors.
I'm also going with Golden State here. They were recently named number 2 in the NBA's power rankings. Not too sure about that. They've looked pretty good, though. But I just believe this Warriors team is different than what we've been seeing. I love the Curry-Butler duo. Jonathan Kuminga has looked great as well, and Jonathan Kuminga will be my player to watch. He's had a great start of the season. He's playing for some extra money right now after some contract disputes in the offseason. He's just on that 1-year qualifying offer currently, but it's going to be another big game for Kuminga. But next up, Cavs, Celtics, ESPN, the 0-3 Celtics against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who do y'all have for this one?
Yeah, a really tough look for Boston right now. I mean, obviously we knew that they were going to struggle a little bit considering the Jason Tatum injury and what all they're trying to deal with that. But I think obviously, having the Philadelphia 76ers, that one for when VJ went off, and then obviously playing the Knicks in Madison Square Garden, and then in Detroit, having a lot of tough games and having to play Cleveland. I'll go with Cleveland in a really close one. I think if Jaylen Brown is active, he will play a huge part for if this Boston Celtics team wants to try and pull off, I guess you could technically call it now an upset. But I think I'll stick with Cleveland here, and they're going to obviously dominate through the bigs, but also watch out for the three-pointer.
Yeah, I think seeing 0-3 next to the Celtics is not a sight that you're used to seeing, especially with their dominance over the past couple of years. But Cavaliers versus Celtics, this is a legendary matchup. Obviously, you know the history between their playoff matchups and how kind of prominent this is. I agree with you, RJ. I think the Celtics keep it close, but I do have the Cavaliers winning this game. And I just think it's simply for the fact of the depth about the Cavaliers that the Celtics don't really have right now. They don't really have an identity. Obviously, a heartbreaking loss to the 76ers and a close loss to the Pistons. So some tough Eastern Conference opponents to start the season. But I'm going to go with the same players that I picked for the Cavs over the Pistons. I'm going to pick Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I think, obviously, the Celtics do not really have a big man that they can trust in right now, and I think Mobley and Jared Allen will take over.
Fun fact, the last time the Celtics were 0-3 was 13-14, the same year they last missed the playoffs. So very, very bad history right there with 0-3 in the Celtics. The exact reason why I'm taking the Cavaliers. My player to watch out for is Donovan Mitchell. I think he always rises to the occasion in these types of games. We saw it last year with that massive comeback in the Garden with a fully healthy and very, very talented Boston Celtics roster. They do not have that, and that is why the Cavs will win.
Yeah, I'm going with Cleveland here. It's just not going to be Boston's season. It seems like it's just Jason Tatum's a massive hole that you just can't fill, and that's what happens sometimes whenever a massive Achilles tear happens. My player to watch will be Sam Merrill. I've liked what he's done so far, and I mean, he started the season with 19 points, 22 points, and 17 points. Can't ask for much more than that. But moving on, the next game in this day, also on this ESPN double header, will be a great matchup against the Lakers and Wolves. These two teams have already played against each other this season on Amazon Prime. So, what do you all see? Do you think anything else will change from what that result was last week?
Well, there's two things that are going to be changing. Obviously, Luka not being out there for the Lakers, and then for Minnesota, Anthony Edwards being out. So it's obviously going to be a more different matchup than a lot of people would expect this early in the season. But I think I'm going to go with Minnesota here. I like especially their production from their other starters, Julius Randle, especially even Jaden McDaniels. And you also have Naz Reid there as well, along with Gobert. So I think there's just a lot of talent there on that Minnesota side. I think for the Lakers, it kind of just gets a little bit iffy. I think this can get potentially even out of control. You're in Minnesota, that Target Center now. They have a great squad there in Minnesota, a tough environment. I'm going to go with the T-Wolves.
Yeah, on the matchup predictor on ESPN, it has the Timberwolves having a 71% chance to win this game, and I totally agree. I think that the star power that the Lakers have is better than the Timberwolves, but obviously that star power will not be present for this game against the Timberwolves. LeBron James, Luka Doncic will both be out, and they will basically have to depend on Austin Reeves like they did last night, and I think the Timberwolves just have more depth than the Lakers, and I think that's one of the big reasons why the Timberwolves are going to steamroll over the Lakers. My player to watch out for is Naz Reid. I think he's going to have a day with the lack of big man play that the Lakers have had to start the season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you guys. I'm going to go Minnesota here. I think their depth compared to LA is really, really good. A player to watch out for me is going to be Jaden McDaniels. I think that he's going to put up some nice numbers against the Lakers, especially with them lacking any type of offensive production outside of Austin Reeves in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Minnesota as well. The depth of this team is very strong, even in the absence of Anthony Edwards. I really like how this team is built, and they're definitely built to go deep in the playoffs. Once again, my player to watch, Julius Randle, revenge game. Now moving on to the next game we will be picking. It is a Thursday night game. Actually, no, there's no national TV on Thursday. It's a Friday night game. Celtics 76ers on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I think for this game it'll be really electric to see how Maxey and VJ Edgecombe play against the Boston Celtics. I mean, we saw what he did the first time. I mean, obviously getting these second matchups early in the year, I think is really interesting how that ends up working. But I'm going to go with Philadelphia again, I think. I mean, obviously you're not going to expect VJ to put up that great performance like he did in that first game. I mean, obviously I'm expecting a lot more as well. I'll look at Kelly Oubre for the 76ers. I think he's going to have a big impact in this game if they want to win. And I think especially being the home team in Xfinity Mobile Arena, they're going to get the victory.
Yeah, I'm going to have some fun here. I'm going to say that the Celtics get their first win of the season against 76ers. Obviously, we talked about before about how prominent this Celtics 76ers matchup is, and that was their opening game, and that was the game that VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey combined for 74 points. I think that the Celtics are going to switch up their game plan and kind of make it more about getting it to the bigs and kind of making sure that you double team VJ Edgecombe and especially Tyrese Maxey. I think Joel Embiid is probably going to be questionable for this game. He doesn't play back-to-back, so we'll see if he plays. If he doesn't play, I could see the Celtics taking this one pretty handedly. And, I mean, I think the Celtics get their first win of the season in Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is actually an NBA Cup game. So
That might be the first one.
This is an NBA Cup game?
Yeah, it says that. Group play.
I guess so.
Oh, okay. The NBA Cup is here.
it starts on Friday.
Fired up.
Let's go.
I think that this game does have obviously some implications on it as it being a group play game. So
NBA Cup, baby. Emirates.
I'm going to go with the 76ers again. I think that this backcourt duo with Edgecombe and Maxey is elite, and I think they're going to win again.
There's no head coach that loves the Emirates NBA Cup more than Joe Mazzulla, so I believe the Boston Celtics will win this game over the 76ers, and I wouldn't be shocked if they only win Emirates NBA Cup games to start the year, because that's just how important this competition is. And Hugo Gonzalez is my player to watch, the rookie. I've loved how he's looked throughout his spurts so far this season. I think he's just going to continue to get more and more minutes as the year goes along. Now moving on to, I guess, the next Emirates NBA Cup game on this Friday night on Amazon Prime, as Amazon Prime is the home of the Emirates NBA Cup. Lakers-Grizzlies, the very injured Grizzlies who have been led by Ja Morant, a rookie in Cedric Coward, and another rookie, West Virginia alum Javon Small, will be going against the Luka and LeBron-less Lakers.
Yep, shout out Javon Small, averaging just 8 points a game. Quick shout out there. But this is also an NBA Cup game, fun to see. But I am going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to have some fun, I think, especially for my, player to watch, Cedric Coward. I was just looking here, especially for how he's played so far this season. I think for Memphis being so banged up, so injured, you're going to have those unexpected guys come out of here. And I think especially for the forward from Washington State, he's been averaging 14, or he had 14, 16, and 27 points in the most recent game against the Indiana Pacers. I think if they want to get a victory, he's going to have a performance near around the 20 points average. But I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies in this fun matchup, especially since the Lakers are without Luka.
Yeah, that's one of the big factors. Is I was going to mention Luka is still going to be out for this game. But I'm going to take the Lakers anyway. My player to watch is DeAndre Ayton. I think he's going to finally have his first big game on the Lakers. And the pure fact is that I think the Grizzlies are just too injured. These are two teams that will be going into this game with a ton of injuries. But unfortunately for the Grizzlies, a lot of their big men are injured. Zach Edey's going to be injured. Brandon Clark. I'm pretty sure Jaren Jackson Jr., right? And so all those guys, I don't think...
JJ's been dealing with stuff, but he should be playing.
Okay.
I've been seeing a lot of tweets of making fun of JJJ for having more fouls and rebounds in every single game he's played so far this season. But
yeah. And I think he's been questionable.
Yeah,
every game
he's been a
played.
JJJ's been a walking DTD.
Yes, yeah. So if he plays, he plays. If not, I don't think it'll be the biggest factor. I think the Lakers will take this one away from the Grizzlies in the NBA Cup group play.
Yeah, give me the Lakers here. I think Austin Reeves is going to feast on this Grizzlies defense, and the Lakers get it done on the road in the first group play game for them.
Give me the Memphis Grizzlies. I love what they've been doing so far this season, despite being just decimated by injuries themselves. I mean, they signed a player due to the emergency contract rule. Last night, it was Charles Bassey. They signed to emergency 10-day contract. But I've loved what they've been doing, and there's no player other than Javon Small that deserves this more than what he's been doing. He had 16 and 6 2 nights ago against Indiana, and I think he's going to have another great game against LA in the incredible Emirates NBA Cup. Now, the final national TV game of the week, it is Mavs-Pistons. It's on a Saturday night, 10 p.m. It's the lone Peacock game on a Saturday night, a 10 p.m. Mavs-Pistons game.
Yeah, fun fact about this is actually the Mexico City game.
Oh, it is.
Fun fact.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Thank you, ESPN, for telling me about that, because I would have had no clue. But I think especially in this matchup, before I actually do make my pick, can somebody or in our listeners make a count of how many times we've said the Emirates NBA Cup in this episode? I'd be curious to know. But I think for this matchup, especially for Dallas, I think they'll be getting a lot of guys back. Obviously, The main ones that I'm kind of concerned of are obviously being Gafford and Lively. They both technically been considered game-time decisions. Should be returning here soon, but I think they'll both be active in this game. I think it's big for Dallas, especially I think for Cooper Flagg. If he were to go off now, I think this would be a pretty great game to do it against the Detroit Pistons, and obviously they're having a little bit of injury trouble themselves with Jaden Ivey being out for so long. I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks in a really close one, and potentially some might say an upset.
Yeah, imagine Cooper Flagg has his big first game in Mexico City. I mean, it'd be quite the shakeup. You wouldn't expect it to be there, but I am going to take the Mavericks in this one as well. I think that Derek Lively, and I think it's going to be very similar to when I picked the Cavs, because the Cavs, I said that it was going to be Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley taking over against Jalen Duran, and I think Jalen Duran, like I said, I think he's good, but I think with Derek Lively back, and if Daniel Gafford officially makes his debut, I think those two big men will be too much for this Pistons team. And my player to watch, I'm actually going to stick with it. I'm going to say Cooper Flagg. I say he's going to have his first big game for the Dallas Mavericks this season, bringing a win over the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this guard matchup between Cunningham and Flagg. I do think the Pistons get it done, though. I think that it depends on if everybody's healthy on the Mavericks. If they are, it's going to be a good game, but I still got the Pistons in this one. Give me Cade Cunningham as a player to look out for.
Detroit basketball, and I will be going with the Detroit Pistons because I do not like the Dallas Mavericks. I think Cade Cunningham may score 45 points. Now, lastly, League Pass game of the week, Spurs Heat Thursday Night Lights, Victor Wembanyama versus Bam Adebayo and Miami Heat.
It'll be a fun matchup, I think, especially for this game being so, I would say, one of the more interesting ones on a Thursday night. But I will go with the Spurs, and I will go with my player to watch, Stephon Castle. I think he's been playing pretty great so far this season. I'm not going to go the obvious Victor because he's just been obviously great. And I hope he has such a great game and drops around 150 fantasy points for me because that'd be so beautiful.
Spurs by 1,000,000. Not only are they 3-0, they have looked phenomenal this season, and I know I've said it plenty of times on this podcast already. I'm not high on this Miami Heat team. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're going to be that good towards the end of the season. I'm going to take the Spurs in this one. My player to watch is going to be the rookie, Dylan Harper. He has been phenomenal. Coming off the bench, he hasn't even started any of the games this season. He is coming off the bench, and I think he's going to come off the bench for the rest of the season. But the stats that he is putting up from that role is phenomenal, and I don't think any depth guards that Miami has is going to compete with Dylan Harper when he was on the court, when he is going to be on the court, and I think his playmaking is going to be unmatched in this game.
Yeah, also I'm going to take the Spurs, and I'm glad you mentioned Dylan Harper because that's my player as well I'm looking out for. I think he's honestly going to put himself in the three-headed race right now between Flagg, Edgecombe, and himself for Rookie of the Year.
Top 3 picks.
And for me, I'm going to go with the San Antonio Spurs. There's not much to complain about with what they've done this season. Victor Wembanyama has looked amazing. There's no other word to say other than that. My player to watch is going to be the veteran of the team, Keldon Johnson.
I love that.
Looked solid so far, and everyone knows Keldon Johnson's always going to give you a solid 12 points every single night. But another guy to look out for, Lenny Waters. Just watch him clap on the bench. No player does it better. But enough. That's it for today's episode of The Flop Factor. It was a fun one, and definitely catch us next week. We're going to be really going in-depth on the actual opening week of the Emirates NBA Cup. There's a couple of games this week, but next Friday will be the start for every team. And we are so excited here because there's nothing better than some NBA Cup basketball. But this was the Flop Factor for Cody Burton, RJ Rice, DJ McDermott, and Braden Laszlo. Thanks for listening.
How are you just so consistent, like the Tide, night in and night out?
My whole life is consistent. Everything I do, from what I eat to when I sleep, to my recovery, to my loved ones, everything's consistent. And it's a routine for me at this point.